was a teacher, and teachers are caregivers by nature, I think, and also often give back. And my father had a couple of family members in nursing homes that I used to visit frequently. And when his one sister passed away, I took him to the facility to get what was left of her belongings, and a maintenance man took us to a shed to get a garbage bag with her things in it. And I thought it was so demeaning and disrespectful that that kind of had me say, there has to be a better way. I definitely called the social worker and the head of the facility, and they knew how I felt. But I just thought it was so disrespectful to her as a person. All right, if you put her things in a bag in a shed, don't have the maintenance man take me, have the social worker take me, or, I don't, nothing against the maintenance man, but I just felt the whole process was disrespectful and I didn't like it. And so then when I retired and was looking for something to do, this seemed a good fit for me and my temperament. And as a teacher, especially of little ones, I'm used to kind of mediating disputes or trying to find middle ground, and that's often what you have to do as an ombudsman. When you go in, especially now when you go in, excuse me, it's a little more rigid than before because they're still testing family members for COVID. When I go in, there's a specific book that non-visitors sign, and it asks you COVID questions, and we have to take our temperature and record a temperature and then sign in the other book. And I have a badge. We all have badges that we wear, and we have a little more access to a facility and to records than some other people might have. And then I just take my book and just walk around. If there's residents in the lobby, I'll talk with them. If there's families, I'll introduce myself. We have cards that we can give out and brochures from the state that explain the program that I can give out. And then I just walk on the different units and see who's in the room and say hello. And our cards are yellow, and oftentimes people will forget my name, but they'll say, I know you're the lady with the yellow card. So, and they do keep the cards, and they do call the office if they have an issue. So that's a good thing. There's really no typical day, because just like in our own lives, every day is different. Most of the time, things are pretty quiet, or there's activities going on. And sometimes I'll go and watch the activities, or there's a resident council where the residents can discuss their concerns. And I've always said, listen to the residents, because they're walking the walk. This is their home, and they're telling you. One of the reasons I've stuck with the program is because I truly believe in it, and I believe it's really needed. This is a population that's often overlooked or neglected, and we could all end up there someday. And that's why with some of the changes, the ups and downs of the program, it helped me learn to go with the flow, because I didn't want to give up, because I really believe that it's important, and it's a needed service. It's a chance to try to help people in these facilities, and also maybe just make a difference in someone's life or in someone's day. Most residents really just want validation as a person. When you're in a facility, you really become a job or a number. And I think you kind of lose your humanity. So if someone comes and is willing to sit and listen to you or hear what your concerns are, they're extremely appreciative. I mean, they could be in the bathroom and I knock on the room door and they'll say, come in, because they don't want you to go away. It's a chance to meet some very interesting people and hopefully do some good. You're not going to change the system, but maybe a little at a time. You might make a little indentation, but at least you can improve the day for someone. I love the residents. They're just really interesting people who've lived very varied and interesting lives. I mean, they're the fabric of our culture, what our culture was. was built on. That's what I love the most. And I also, if there's an issue and I can help resolve it, that's a really good feeling. And oftentimes the facility that I'm at, they're often very cooperative if I bring up a problem. So we usually can work out whatever the issue is. So that's always a good feeling. And helping the residents. I think, you know, when you volunteer, if you're in a position that suits you, you get a lot back. You know, they ask what, you know, what do you do? Well, you actually you get a lot yourself. It's a chance to grow. It's a chance to think about a lot of things and to meet some really wonderful, wonderful people. There's one woman, she just turned 98. She's hard of hearing. She doesn't have a family. She's so grateful whenever I visit her. And I have to use, they have a whiteboard with a marker to communicate with her. And she's just so grateful. She always says, oh, you know, please take some clothes out of my closet. Please take the flower. You know, she's just so, and that just warms your heart because you can feel that she's really grateful for the visit and the time. And she was very frightened about the fact that she was getting older and she knew probably the end of her life was coming soon. And she had a lot of concerns about what was going to happen, what were they going to do, how was it going to work. And fortunately, my son is a funeral director, so I was able to give her some real reassurances that seemed to help her and put her mind at ease. And she was not eating for a while because she was so afraid that she was dying and it wouldn't work. So when I go, I make sure she's eating. And as soon as I go in, she nods her head and makes the motion, yes, I'm eating. She's really doing amazingly well. So she comes to mind when I think of that. I think that when there's an ombudsman in a facility, just the fact that there's an ombudsman there is a positive thing because staff and residents know that you're there. And sometimes there can be an issue. And if the facility sees that you're getting involved, somehow that issue gets resolved a little more quickly than it might have if you were not there. And you're also another set of eyes and ears when you're walking around. Several of the ombudsmen were nurses, and that's a more clinical point of view that I don't have. But as a teacher, I think it's easy for me to relate to people and to talk with people. So I think it's a good fit with me. And you really can't tell anyone. You can tell them how the experience is positive for you, but they have to feel that themselves. You can't go to anyone to say, oh, you should be an ombudsman, you should be an ombudsman. You really have to have, first of all, the ability to walk in a facility that's predominantly older people, many of them quite sick, and be able to do that. And if you feel that's good for you, then it would work. It gets a little frustrating because you can't fix things all at once, or we're not allowed to do any, we can't push residents in wheelchairs. We can't do anything hands-on because we're not, that's not our training and that's not our job. And sometimes that's a little hard for residents to come. One lady said to me once, she said, could you please push me to the dining room, let's say? And I said, I'm really sorry, I can't, I'm not allowed to do it. Oh, you obey the rules too much, she said. I said, I'll go get someone that can take you, and that's what I did. So I'm glad that I tried this. I think it's a very worthwhile volunteer position, and you meet a lot of really interesting people. I also think if someone becomes, I've noticed as people, and I was this way myself too, you start out as an ombudsman and you're going to change the system and you're going to change the world, and you find out very quickly that's not the case. And my advice would be, don't give up. Just the fact that you're there is a contribution and is doing some good. And little by little, everybody has their own way of conducting business, if you want to call it. And everybody has to find which path works for them. Yeah, I just think, it can be discouraging sometimes, but I would say if you believe in the program, don't give up. Um, Learn as much as you can and listen, because most of the time what they're telling you is very valid and very true, and try to put yourself in the shoes of a resident, excuse me, and think how you would feel. And that sometimes makes it a little easier to understand.